Friends, I'm here to share with you a little bit about our hip fracture services at SIMS Hospital. We have a very specialized hip fracture services at SIMS Hospital, and we have been able to take care of many nonagenarians, people in their 90s. Both these ladies, one was operated in 96, another at 99. Both have celebrated their 100th birthday, and it's a matter of pride for us at SIMS that we were able to be, a little bit contributory in that direction. So what I'm going to share with you today is that how our SIMS elderly hip fracture specialty service, how it is working and how it is at the international level. So let's just begin. First, I would like to share with you some shocking facts related to the outcome of hip fractures. And this is based on the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery Clinical Practice Guidelines. The summary, it was released in 2015. And it said, despite best of care, evidence shows that hip fractures are associated with higher incidence of mortality. And that is 12 to 15% within 6 weeks, 24 to 30% in 6 months, and up to 40% within first year. And these are the data of USA. So we can imagine in a country like ours, where healthcare, there is a lot of disparity in the quality of healthcare, the results may be even worse. So that's an alarming sign. This is one such case. She was operated in Jamnagar. She came to us once the things got worse in a lot of complications, and we lost this patient because the first surgery and related to that complications, and then the patient came to us. So this is just an indicator that hip fractures have very high mortality and they should not be taken lightly. Inability to return to pre-injury living condition with diminished quality of life, we've seen in majority, more than 60% patients will never be able to return back to their pre-operative function or pre-injury status. So that is again very alarming, especially if something of this sort happens to one of our parents. Then we will be so concerned that then they will have an increased requirement of care and supervision for rest of their lives. So that's an important thing to understand. That's the prognosis of hip fracture. It is bad all across the world. How we are trying to improve it, that is what I'm going to share with you today. So friends, hip fracture is just the tip of the iceberg. What you can see from above is just the orthopedic issue, but what lies beneath is much, much more. So you have a patient who is osteoporotic and with general debility, poor nutrition. You have a patient whose nutrition is not only bad, but also absorption may be bad, because after a certain age, the digestion and absorption power also diminishes. You have patients who are mostly having either some form of chronic liver, kidney, or lung disease. You have patients with neurological problems. They may be dementic, they may be having Parkinson's or neuropathies. You may be having patients with depression, a very common problem in elderly patients. So psychological issues, social issues, most of the people now, they are, even though the parents are well-to-do, they are here living alone, their kids are living outside, not in Ahmedabad, and they are the people with not enough social backup. And there may be pre-existing illness which has caused the hip fracture. Like in 2 patients in last year, we have had patients who had complete heart block. Because of that, they had fall, then they had hip fracture. Complete heart block needed to be taken care of alongside with the hip fracture management. So these are the problems which are associated with hip fracture. We just see the X-ray, that's not the way. It's much beyond that. So this is the first case. She's a displaced fracture neck femur. Patient had a fall in UP. 4 years ago, she was treated here in our hospital for left side hip fracture by bipolar hip replacement. And this time again, when the injury happened, the son of that lady wanted to bring the mother here so that we can do similar magic second time on the right side. It took 6 days for the patient to take a decision and come to Ahmedabad. It was 28 hours arduous journey in the ambulance. And when we received the patient had an altered renal profile, 3.2 create, 6.2 potassium. The patient was having dementia. She was irrelevant talking. She had a whole leg swelling with pitting edema, which showed the deep vein thrombosis, and she had a high pulse rate, low BP, and almost nil urine output. So this is how we received the patient at 6 days. The Doppler done by Kirtan Bhai and his team, it showed deep vein thrombosis extending all the way to the iliac vein. So now this is the scenario that the patient comes to us, and it is very frequent that this happens. X-ray shows a fracture. That's the only concern. that's not the only concern. That's the last concern. If you have seen all the problems I've listed, the fracture came at the end. So how to go ahead? What should be the plan? And I will ask this question directly to Bhagyesh, because he was an integral part of the medical management of this patient. So Bhagyesh bhai, you, for the benefit of everybody, just do we have a mic?
Yes, sir.
Please give it to Bhagyesh bhai. When we have these kind of patients, how should we plan the treatment?
This patient actually is known to me only, and such patients we have dealt with Dr. Pranav sir very frequently in last 2-3 years. The rates have gone up where we get more and more sicker patients. And when we encounter such a patient, the first thing we discuss with a family member is that yes, this is a debilitating issue, and with this, the life is going to be worse. So we definitely give the mortality, morbidity, and other parameters if we operate also. So even in this case, we had discussion 2 or 3 days all together with other specialists involved as per the findings. That yes, if you go ahead with this surgery, these are the chances of mortality, morbidity, and these are the benefits. At the same time, we discussed that if we don't go ahead with surgery, she'll be bed bound, there will be bed sores, there will be more and more DVTs and other issues, more aspiration and overall care issues where the quality of life significantly goes down. So this is the basic discussion we do when we see such patients. But yes, as far as clinical management is concerned, we try to manage all the things in ICU, out of ICU, whatever place the patient is, all together covering all organ dysfunction. So it's not like that let me correct the kidney first and then I'll handle the heart. We get all the specialists together and we keep on monitoring that what is the best and beneficial to the patient rather than any harms. And whenever we feel fit, we start discussing with family in that positive aspect that look, these are the issues which started with this fracture and which are already showing some improvement. Now is the window for us to decide that okay, this is the best time to go ahead for surgery, and should we go ahead for surgery with the overall quality of care and quality of life in mind.
Yes. So in this patient, that is what was done. Nephro care was done. Doctor, he is here. Mayur bhai did nephro care. Hardik, Bhagyesh bhai did critical care. We also got a neuro opinion for a dementia. Patient was in ICU with all the care and everything. Patient was made optimized for surgery at the end of 4 days. And then we went ahead, we did the surgery. So now this question, many times this dilemma arises that the medical side feels that the patient is not fit enough for surgery. The surgical side feels that this is a hip fracture, it should be treated early. All our data, all our literature, all our journals, they suggest that you should operate within 24 hours or within 12 hours. So there is always this tug of war going on. So now this question to Amit bhai, because he's also dealt with so many of our patients who have had big fractures. Amit bhai, do you think hip fracture stabilization is an emergency? If yes, why? If no, why? What is your goal in mind if you see a patient with medical comorbidities and requiring hip fracture management?
It is an emergent situation rather than emergency. I would like to stabilize the patient as soon as possible, and I would like to take as soon as patient is stabilized medically and take things off the surgery. So that these kind of patients and I would like to use best technique which leads to early mobilization of this patient, like if required hip replacement also. So whatever the technique feasible by surgeon which leads to early mobilization.
Yes.
So as soon as patient is medically stable, earliest day, earliest time, earliest hour, I would like to go for surgery. And selection of surgery, the aim of surgery should be early mobilization.
Early mobilization. Good pain relief and good early mobilization. Yes. So that is the very big important paradigm shift. Last 10 years. There was a time when we were referring and the patient of hip fracture would lie in the bed. There have been times like that, and there have been times like this now, where the medical team is so clear that this patient has to be as early as possible operated because it is going to help the patient's recovery process on the whole. So that's a very important change, and that has made a lot of impact in the improved outcomes of hip fractures. So what is the optimum time for surgery? If I may ask cardiologist Vineet Bhai, what do you think from say DVT point of view, from overall risk point of view, if a patient has a hip fracture, what do you think should be an optimum time to go for the surgery?
Unless the patient is having some acute ACS or some acute cardiology problem, the time will be decided by you people. So as soon as possible, unless there is a very acute emergency in cardiac,
Yes.
because of very otherwise the ball is in your court.
Yes. So unless there is a life-threatening another problem which can be managed quickly, like we had this patient with heart block who was immediately temporarily paced and then later on permanent pacemaker, and then we did the surgery. So unless you have such a situation, the goal is to get to the patient, to get patient to the OT as early as possible. Yes. Now, what are the problems of delay? So this I'll share with you. There's very clear data in orthopedic literature that all patients who have had hip fracture surgery after 48 hours compared with all patients who have had hip fracture surgery before 48 hours, and they have found statistically significant difference in 1, recovery rates, 2, complication, and 3, return to pre-injury activity level. These 3 things have shown significant improvement if the patient was in OT before 48 hours, because these patients, they need to get back on their feet as early as possible, otherwise they lose confidence. And once they lose confidence to stand and walk, then that's a big challenge for physiotherapy and for post-operative rehabilitation. So that's the issue. Another question very frequently we are asked by relatives is, sir, isme operation nahi kare to kaisa? Or can we not treat it conservatively? So since Minesh Bhai is here, let me ask him. Minesh Bhai, can you please enumerate in short, for benefit of everyone, the problems of a bedridden patient and the risk of a 21-day bedridden versus a high-risk orthopedic surgery?
So regarding conservative treatment about this hip fracture patient, probably the bed sore and all the ICU complication, what we see, that is the main thing. The feeding factor and the wall, you can say regurgitation and defecation also has a difficulty. So probably the bed sore is the main culprit, I would say, and the debility will be not good for the patient for the future prognosis. So these are the things we see in this kind of conservative patient when we treat for this hip fracture.
So when we go through the literature again, we have found that the #1 killer of a bedridden patient is urinary tract infection. That's the #1 killer. Second number killer is a lung infection because of atelectasis, because of poor respiratory effort. And #3 killer is deep vein thrombosis. And then if they do survive all this, then they have problems, as sir said, of bed sores, which can be really disheartening. It is so painful to see a patient with maggots and bed sore, and relatives are not ready to go into that room because it is so foul smelling. So all these problems have been countered whenever the patient has gone on a prolonged bed rest or prolonged conservative management. And very rarely we have seen these kind of problems with a patient who has been optimally fixed. And that is what I'm going to share with you. So this lady was operated on day 4 or day 5, and day 6 she's standing. The same lady whom we have discussed, right? This is her post-operative X-ray, and she did have her problems. See, she had a post-operatively day 9 because she was having DVT. We have to give a lot of anticoagulants, antiplatelets. She developed hematoma. She developed blood discharge. There was some wound gaping. So we readmitted her. We drained the hematoma. We decreased the anticoagulation. We still maintained the ambulation. Even with all those problems, her physiotherapist will every day make her stand and walk at least. So that was maintained. The patient was taken in OT, the wound was washed, resuturing was done, and repeat Doppler at the discharge of second time showed completely recovered the DVT. It was so DVT was caught early, managed well, and it was completely recovered. That was surprising for me also. But the Pitan Bhai's team only has done the second Doppler also, and they have compared with the previous Doppler, and the patient has completely recovered from that. Best thing is the patient at home. She's still walking. And look at the t-shirt she is wearing, forever young. So the moral of the story is a multidisciplinary, well-coordinated. Why I'm saying well-coordinated, I have seen many corporates. People come, they see reference, they write, and they go away. In our hospital, what we do is we talk with each other. Before we write, we talk. So that is very, very important. The communication between all the specialties. It is result-oriented. everybody who was involved from day one, including Mayur or including Bhagyesh or including Parindra Bhai, everybody had one goal in mind, that this patient has to walk and go back home. So it's a result oriented approach we are having, and a positive approach. We explain all the problems to the patient, but we always help the patient in taking the decision in favor of recovery, rather than resigning and taking the patient home and dealing with the problems later on. Our approach is always optimistic. So all these things have helped us to get excellent result even in high risk cases. So this is what I wanted to share with you. Now I'm just sharing a few more cases so that you get a more detailed idea. Yeah, time puro thi kya? Oh my God. So Kirtan bhai, your take on this. So these are three different intratrochanteric fractures: 73-year-old, 74-year-old, and 74-year-old. Kirtan bhai, your take on which is the good, the bad, the ugly.
Obviously, displaced and dominated fracture are more bad, and this displaced they are better fixed by. Obviously, you fix all the fractures inside your program.
Thank you. But if you have to choose between these three, which is the worst and which is the best?
Left side.
Right dominated fracture.
The left side is,
The left
yeah, means the
most
first
right
one
right.
looks worst and
First one is
the
worst.
last one looks best.
Yes.
Yes. So now this brings me to another issue. See, many times we just take one X-ray and we take a judgment, but many times that judgment is not enough. I have done CT scan of the last patient, and last patient's front view shows a very good alignment, simple fracture line, but you see behind there is so much of comminution. And when the fracture was fixed, this is the only fracture which was fixed with a gap. You can see a gap medially, right? So this is something which creates tension always. But fortunately, we have a very good inventory. We are using very good quality implants. We are using a very specialized technique, and we do biological surgery. Means we don't strip the periosteum. We keep the soft tissue attachment intact. So this patient on day 3 is standing and walking, the one who was nailed with a gap. And this same patient at 4 months is driving two-wheeler, walking so well. And on 2nd October, he is going to go to climb Girnar, 74-year-old. The other patient is shocked. Again, as you rightly said, all look bad, but ultimately what is important is how you get post-operatively. So if post-operatively the alignment is as perfect as this one or this one, where you cannot even make out the fracture, the patient is definitely going to be able to stand and walk post-operatively. So the last patient again, which was Dr. Bhavesh Thakkar's patient, she had a chronic liver disease and altered bleeding profile, and this was her surgery. And after surgery, pain medication requirement was decreased. Even paracetamol was restricted in that patient, and that patient was discharged uneventfully in 5 days. So, friends, the lessons we learned there in last 5 years, more than 300 cases we have done in SIMS Hospital of hip fractures. Patients operated less than 48 hours have done better. Good surgery with safe anesthesia. One point I want to highlight is our anesthetists are able to give regional anesthesia in hip fracture surgery, which is very unique and very fantastic. It is very less risky. We have very good ICU backup, and we have all the specialty in-house, so we always get help of them whenever we required. And with our minimal invasive nailing system, we have not had a single infection in this hospital. Thank you.